Hello and welcome back to my long and overly complex video series documenting the entire history of Streetlight Manifesto. If you haven't seen my last two parts, what are you doing? Actually, what are you doing? Go watch those. What? Anyways, when we last left off, it was late 2006, and Dylan O'Connor had just left the band and would be replaced by Matthew Stewart. Well, here we are in January of 2007. It is time to talk about something that every Streetlight fan knows far too well: album delays. You love them, or maybe you don't. I don't. I certainly don't. But we all go through them. And 2007 was no different. According to 5 Kids Down on the Ska-Killies forum, scans from the latest alternative press magazine had shown a release date of January 23rd, 2007. It does not have a title. It is simply Streetlight Manifesto TBA with the label of Victory. They also have a section in the most anticipated, which says to expect the record on January 23rd on Victory. The section has this to say: although its release has already been postponed multiple times, Streetlight Manifesto singer/guitarist Thomas Kalnoky says the ska outfit's still untitled next record will be well worth the wait. We try not to work on any deadlines. We're just trying to make it as good as possible and letting it grow more organically. Kalnoky says this time out, the ska mainstays are finding inspiration in bands like System of a Down and the Mars Volta. It's a bit darker than the last one. It's definitely a headphone record. And this is great because this is bullshit and it didn't come out. So, come on. However, you can also see that Streetlight already called this bullshit back all the way in November of 2006, where they say that they're not playing New Jersey until next year and until the next record, sometime in the spring of 2006. They mean 2007, because at this time it was already November 2006, so that couldn't possibly be. However, that seems to suggest that this album is not going to be out until probably April or so of 2007, already back in November. So this is already outdated. Also, it is a pain in the ass to find Streetlight's website at this point because it's all just temporary websites. God damn it, Streetlight, just fucking... In January, Streetlight themselves would address that this album is not coming out on January 23rd. They did, however, say they're flattered that people are interested in the release date, but it certainly is just not coming out then. This update also has some notes that samples are going to be posted onto the website, and also something about Bunny, which I don't know what that is even meant to be. With March would come, finally, some updates on what's happening in the Streetlight world. On March 15th, they would make an update saying 4 total things. Firstly, that they're going on a 2-month North American summer tour with Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake. Secondly, the new album will definitely, totally, for sure, absolutely, we promise, be finished by then, and they'll be playing new material during that summer tour. Number 3, Europe will be seeing Streetlight again sometime after the album and the summer tour. Number 4, they're making a new website, and if you know how to code, they would love to hear from you. And they're offering free merch or whatever, if you can help them. Then, 2 days later, on March 17th, the Botar website would actually update. It would have a huge, very material-dense update. So let me read it for you now. So here's an update for all you patient Botar peoples. Botar, and Streetlight Manifesto, has added some folk behind the scenes to help out with web updates and in general start kicking the talent around to actually get things done in some sort of timely manner. Botar is about to start recording its first full length. The plan is to release it around the same time or slightly after Streetlight gets its record done, but we're dealing with you-know-who here, so expect it sometime before the end of our current decade. Botar is recruiting musicians for recording and possibly touring in the near-distant future on the West Coast. Yes, Botar is starting a West Coast division. Now between the two groups, maybe they'll put out more than an EP every 5 years, and if you or someone you know, A, plays any of the following: upright bass, drums, violin, viola, cello, trumpet, trombone, any sax, clarinet, oboe, piano, mandolin, percussion, especially ethnic, or anything you think might contribute and complement the Botar sound. B. are very, very skilled at your instrument. C. Are 18 years old or older. D. Live in Los Angeles County or one of the neighboring counties. D again. Want to be a rich, famous rock star. Please contact me at jairkotar@gmail.com with the subject Botar West Coast. Links to video/audio of you playing or a description of your experience will really help out, so send what you have. Botar is now affiliated with the Pentimento Music Company, a tiny new label that will be releasing and distributing their records. This site will be up shortly, and yes, from now on, when we say soon, we actually mean it. Please don't email me about the band or Streetlight or to request anything from them. I barely know more than you guys. I'm just here to make sure things move along, and from the emails I've read from you all, it's about damn time. Jarek. Risk. March 16th, 2007. So this update is amazing in like a lot of ways, right? Firstly, Botar West Coast, there's not even a Botar East Coast. Secondly, Botar full length, that didn't happen. And he says by the end of the decade as a joke, but legitimately, it's by the end of the next decade and halfway through the next decade, and it's still not out. So thanks, Jarek. Another recruiting thing, I mean, this is very similar to what was in A Call to Arms. This is the birth, or very close to the birth, of the Pentimento Music Company, which is like the only thing here that actually exists. And they don't mean soon. They never mean soon. Soon never means soon with Streetlight. But that's pretty neat. That shows a lot of the plans that they were doing a double album release with Botar. Okay, but like think about it like this though, right? How are they gonna have a Botar release come out at the same time or shortly after the Streetlight album, which doesn't even have a release date yet, and they're recording it in March, right? That doesn't make any sense. Nothing with this band makes any sense. Before we discuss their as-of-yet unnamed second original record and the subsequent years, we should actually talk about a release that most people miss. I bet you don't even know about it. In July of 2007, the compilation album Ska Is Dead would release. And this compilation album is very, very plain for the most part, with one notable exception. There is on it a live version of A Better Place, A Better Time. This live version does not exist anywhere else. It is only on this CD, and it's completely just unmentioned, as far as I can tell anyways. It, I believe, was recorded during the Ska Is Dead 2 tour, but that could be complete bullshit. I have no way of knowing that. It only just makes sense because of the CD name. But like, yeah, it's the only live track on this entire CD. Everything else is studio versions. So it's really, really weird. But here are some clips from it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pete McCullough. Cause it's all that you've got. You'll be better off just up and leaving if you don't think they will stop. When you wake up, everything is gonna be fine. I guarantee that you wake in a better place, in a better time. So you're tired of living, you feel like you might give in. Well, don't. It's not your time. Time for buying flowers for grace. I'd rather buy you a one-way stop. To anywhere, find anyone, do anything, forget it's not again, love. She says she won't go. It is too much to stand by. You gotta stop and draw a line. Everyone here has to choose a side tonight. The moment of truth is haunting you. Don't forget your family, regardless what you choose to do. You can't decide, and they're all screaming, why won't you? I'll start the engine, but I can't take this ride for you. I'll draw your path and I'll load your gun. I hope so bad that you're bathing. So you're tired of living,
Side note, this is the only official live recording until 2019. After this, it's pretty much radio silence until the summer tour in July of 2007. The summer tour, by the way, being called the Shout It Loud Tour, which ranges from July 3rd, 2007 until August 26th, 2007. It says 2006. Please just pretend like it doesn't, alright? I make mistakes too, and I'm very lazy, and I don't want to fix it, so I'm not going to. The European tour that they hinted out also would be cancelled, so that Thomas could undergo surgery, and it would be rescheduled for spring of 2008, apparently. Dan Potast would do an interview with punknews.org where he basically announced the new album by his new band, The Stitch Up, which is going to be he says one of, but it is the first, I believe, records to be released on Pentimento Music. Also in this, he says something about Streetlight and The Stitch Up going on tour in the winter of 2007. Which was exclusive news at the time, apparently. Apparently, there would be a new Streetlight site in mid-August, and it would release with a news update. It says, end quote, "We're back. So where do we begin? A. New record, officially done and finished and wrapped. B. New record title, to be announced right here this very month. C. New record song samples to be posted here this very month. D. New record release date to be posted here this very month. E. First official Streetlight music video, more info soon, right here. F. Headline tour plans to be announced here in the next few weeks. G. Overseas tours to be announced by late September, including previously uncharted, by Streetlight Manifesto, continents. H. Please welcome our new web designer guy, Logan. Full website coming soon. I. Am out of things to list. J. K. K. Okay, really now. L. Not sure if the mailing list is working yet. You may have to re-enlist in a few days. M. Reminder, if you want to see us and or Against All Authority on the current Real Big Fish / Less Than Jake tour, please show up a half hour before the time printed on your ticket. Otherwise, you may / will miss our sets and then be angry. Don't be angry. And that is all. Somehow, Streetlight actually delivered on, I think, all of these promises. So, on August 22nd, they would announce that their new album would be called Somewhere in the Between. Because of punk news, it would also be known that the previously uncharted territories that Streetlight was talking about would be their very first Australian tour in December of 2007. On August 31st, Streetlight would post 3 whole samples of the album to their website. Here are the 3 samples.
I'd rather see in shades of gray. If I were you, go now, the others they'll await you, and every single one of them, a lot of you will have your turn.
They also revealed that their US headlining tour would start on November 7th, and that surely it would make no sense to play songs that no one has ever heard, in reference to when the album was going to come out. They also say that they're making a new website, and they're working on getting more song snippets in a proper definitive release date, and, quote, more surprises. On September 7th, Victory would update their release page, and it had the release date and cover art of Somewhere in the Between. It also had the track list, which it is just the track list that we know and love. Streetlight would update their site on October 9th with information about the tickets, information about Somewhere in the Between. They said that it would be at the New Jersey show, which would be November 9th. Unfortunately, that does mean that the handful of shows before November 9th did not have the ability to buy the Somewhere in the Between CD, which really sucks. They also announce they don't announce, but they also tease that the new music video would be out soon. They also put out 2 new clips of music from the album, but I can't access this. The link is dead, and the website isn't archived, so I can't see it. But assumedly, it's just 2 more clips of the album. They're labeled 05 and 09, which I think is interesting because either they're clips from Watch It Crash and the receiving end of it all, which doesn't make sense because Watch It Crash already has a clip, unless they posted 2 of them. There could have been just a bunch of clips that they didn't end up posting publicly, which I think is interesting. But either way, on October 28th, Streetlight would post their first music video, We Will Fall Together, which is the song in full. And will also announce touring in England and Scotland with Real Big Fish and Sonic Boom 6 in February of 2008. Here are a clip or a couple clips from the We Will Fall Together music video. The first leg of the Somewhere in the Between tour would begin on November 5th, 2007, and would go until December 4th, 2007. On November 9th, in Starland Ballroom, Somewhere in the Between would be released for the very first time, and then later, on November 13th, it would be released to general audiences. At this time as well, the album would be delayed by a week in the UK due to customs issues. That brings us to Streetlight's very second ever original album. So let's talk a good bit about that. The album was, and still is, absolutely beloved by fans. It features 10 tracks and comes to a length of 44 minutes and 31 seconds, and it's much more boundary pushing than Everything Goes Numb. Because of this, beginning around this time, Streetlight would actually shy away from being called a ska band. They didn't like the term. Thomas, specifically, doesn't like the term, and still, he really doesn't. Thus beginning the endless debate of what genre Streetlight actually is. I've heard so many answers to this question, I will just not even touch upon it when not relevant. I'm sorry. I don't really care. And I've heard the most insane answers, and nobody can really decide. So Streetlight is Streetlight, and that's that. If you are, however, interested in discussing that topic, I would recommend Is Streetlight Manifesto a Ska Band by Ska-Tune Network on YouTube. Very good video about this. Ska-Tune Network, very educated in ska, obviously. Great music, his covers are great. I've got such exciting news for you guys. We actually have liner notes for every single song on this album. So, we're going to have those read out to you, and I will be giving my thoughts as we go through this.
We Will Fall Together, one of the oldest as well as one of the newest songs on the record, in that it was written piece by piece over the course of about 10 years. I distinctly remember sitting only in my boxers on the floor of my dorm room at Rutgers, strumming my acoustic and quietly singing the melody that now opens this very record. The chorus came to me as we were laying down drums and bass. We were up to the part of the song that should have been a chorus, but I had nothing. Fortunately, that night in the 11th hour, while Chris and Pete slept on the floor of the studio, the chorus fell into my lap. So upon singing the first line to them the following morning, I thought to myself, and you probably will, for better or worse.
I find that this is interesting because it means if we're to take the about 10 years thing seriously, that this song was beginning to be written in 1997. though he was in college after 1998, so it could be referring to the pre-Botar and post-Catch-22 days.
Down, down, down to Mephisto's Cafe. I take it back. This tune is definitely older than the last one. So old, in fact, I remember introducing it to my previous band as a song for our second record. Ironically, it's now a song on this band's second record. Back then it was round, or at least the chorus was. The lyrics for this one supposedly summarize the general theme of this record, and it's literally as nakedly as possible. Oh, and shoot this for a ticket of the song clocked at 7:30. Seriously.
This track was written for Catch-22's second album. Due to the recording we have of the first bit of it at their second Starland show, it was originally much longer in its original form. So it being an additional 2 minutes and 30 seconds long does not surprise me, with prior context.
Would you be impressed? For whatever reasons, so much of the lyrics of this record lean towards the macabre, the hopeless, be it a reaction to the current state of world affairs or the slow and steady realization that, quite frankly, things are not as they were promised us. I'd often write a verse or two, sing it back to myself and think, Jesus, this would make even the Teletubbies suicidal. Somehow, I like to think that I at least try to weave in some sort of positive twist here and there trying to redeem myself. The lyrics here center around a big old metaphor involving disease and responsibility, but if I sang you the original lyrics for the first verse, you'd likely piss your pants laughing. Not so funny anymore though, I guess.
Thomas says that his original lyrics for the track were much more depressing, which makes me very interested, and I would have liked to read what the original lyrics entailed.
1 foot in the gas, 1 foot in the grave. With the exception of exactly 2 lines of lyrics, this one was written in its entirety during the course of our recording of this album. I would literally sneak away and write a little here, a little there, careful to not let on that, despite being in the thick of recording, the song was a little more than a title where we began. Almost always when writing songs, I look for melodies by singing gibberish while strumming the guitar. Then I'm happy with the melodies, I go back and fill in the nonsense of actual words. There's one little sliver of this song that I couldn't resist leaving the gibberish, as it was none too subtle nod to my favorite bands growing up.
This reveals a lot about the way that a Streetlight record is made. Sometimes they start with nothing more than just a song title or verse, and just go from there. I wish I knew which band he was referring to there. It might reveal more about the band in this song in general.
Watch It Crash, a tune about the anonymity of war. It kind of seems like a game sometimes, like a Risk or Battleship, where you kind of observe from a great distance. The internet? As young men are actually killing each other for whatever reason someone came up with. We're excited to hope that our young man will kill enough of their young man to the point where we declare a victory. That's kind of embarrassing.
Thomas isn't unfamiliar with writing songs about war, remember? A Call to Arms was primarily about war. I think it's interesting he calls it embarrassing, as if we should take shame that we do it as a species. I think ultimately that he is correct. The concept of warfare is ridiculous and barbaric when we strip it of its flair and propagandization.
Somewhere in the between. This was such a gentle, slow, sad song. What happened? My favorite part of this recording is one where watching Soprano and Brown go back and forth, literally having conversation through their horns over and over until the conversation felt just right.
I think he says that it began as such a slow song because this track starts with such energy due to its intro with the electric guitar. He also acknowledges a lot of the back and forth that the horns tend to do, especially in the later discography. This track is awesome, and I love it. Also, the Tokay version is much more gentle, slow, and sad, which I think gives an interesting depth to a lot of the songs that they originally had. And Tokay, please keep making Tokay songs. Streetlight Lullabies Part 2, please, I beg you.
40 days. Every night after Thatcher, Pete and I were done laying down our rhythm tracks for the day, we'd sit back and listen to what we had so far. It was during one of these listening sessions that we decided that if we were to make a music video for this song, we'd need Legionnaire outfits, a desert setting, and camels that walk in time with a beat. Don't ask.
Interesting to hear an idea for a music video, considering we've only ever gotten 5 from Streetlight-related projects, and only one of those was live action. That being Hell, as performed by Streetlight Manifesto on YouTube, which is extremely bizarre and weird as is. Also, this is a little note, and I notice this a lot, which is very different from other guitarists, but Toke considers himself to be part of the rhythm section, and I think that reveals a lot about the way that he writes the songs. The guitar is rhythm, it's not melody. The horns are melody, the vocals are melody. The guitar rarely is. And I think that's interesting, because he does actually go back to this idea a few more times.
The Blonde Lead the Blind. This little piece of Dixieland swing rock would have been almost on numb if I'd ever get around to finish it. Well, here it is. Finished. Almost every time we listen to it in the control room of our studio, during the part where Matt does the soaring trumpet lead, we extend our arms and pretend we were flying. Try it. It works. Trey-oo.
The song was started in 2002 or 2003, then based on what he said. It's silly to think about the band being so non-serious, but I suppose taking everything they do seriously would be incorrect. And he is right. It does work. Also, Dixieland being mentioned specifically is really interesting to me, because this song does not get a Dixieland cover, but another song, foreshadowing, does.
The receiving end of it all. Arguably everyone in the band's favorite track on the record, this one's a typical combination of 2 or 3 older songs that I at some point realized were really all different parts of the same song. Whenever we get to the chorus, it can't help but headbang in slow motion. Should make for an interesting live show.
Interesting to hear it's not only a favorite, but a combination of parts of a lot of songs. Pretty typical Thomas behavior, it would seem. And they're right, it does make for a pretty interesting live show.
What a wicked gang are we. Another slow, quiet acoustic number done up as a rocker. Boom!
Not a lot to say about this one. Boom! Sorry about that. If anybody sleeps to my video, I bet that woke you up. Anyways, now this is going to be a huge block of text explaining the rules of the band in recording the album.
This collection of music was recorded in a seemingly endless series of zeros and ones from sometime in the summer of 2006 until sometime in the summer of 2007. The bulk of the recording took place from January 07 onward and in the lonely city of Los Angeles and the lovely state of California. The songs were written by Thomas Kalganaki, who also undertook the task of recording this damned thing. He also took the liberty of singing the songs and playing the guitar in time with the drums, which were beaten on by one Christopher Thatcher. He tried his best to destroy the trap kit before him with his little wooden sticks, and man, did he come close. Locking into his ones and twos and laying down on the low end on the bass guitar was the intimidable Pete McCullough. He had to employ a fifth string, as the standard 4 wasn't enough to handle his musical prowess. The horn section is comprised of 4 characters, each fulfilling his role and then some, like fingers on a hand, a 4-fingered hand of doom, or something. Jim Conti played both the tenor saxophone and the alto saxophone, although primarily the former. He probably could have played most of the instruments on the record, but that would be kinda rude, and Jim is very well mannered. He also coincidentally sang almost as much as Thomas, harmonizing along to the garbled, often incoherent screams that were laid down first. Mike Soprano is the man in charge of blowing into the trombone, and ladies and gentlemen, that man can blow. Ferocious as a tiger 1 second, gentle as a kid in the next. Mr. Soprano knows what it takes. Up next is Mr. Michael Brown, playing both ends of the sonic spectrum, mostly belching out the low, powerful tones of his baritone saxophone, and occasionally singing sweetly of his alto sax. Brown does indeed lay it down. And lastly, the new guy, Matthew Stewart. He and his trumpet walked into the world of Streetlight just as the recording was set to begin, and he quickly was branded the squeal dealer in a none too sober post-long day of recording mess at night. The man can indeed squeal. After the main instruments were laid down and put to bed, Mr. Brown, Mr. Conti, and Mr. McCullough got into the live room to string out the gang vocals. Then our new friend, Domain Arrigaga from Caracas, by the way of Boston, came by to lay down some percussion. James Cantor then flew to LA and helped Thomas mix the record. Amanda Stevens is responsible for the photos of this here layout, except for the one of Thomas. Mark R. Sullivan did that.
If Matt Stewart joined right before the recording started, it's likely he joined right after Delano left. Likely early winter. Overall, this gives us a small peek into what the process for writing a Streetlight album is. And it would seem it's a lot of crammed recording, rewriting, and hinges of pure music. In some way, that's the pure essence of a band. Especially of a bunch of guys in their early 20s. So, back to our regularly scheduled touring breakdown. Alright, so somewhere in between tour leg 1 goes from November 5th, 2007 to December 4th, 2007. They're obviously focused on playing somewhere in between front to back, but they actually took a break in the middle to join Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake to tour Australia for a week from the 7th to the 14th. This being the first time Streetlight would actually play Australia, as well as the first time they would play internationally outside of Canada or Western Europe. They would then return to the States a month later on January 3rd to visit some more Western cities domestically, and would end this tour officially on the 11th of January. The next night, they would play a cerebral palsy benefit show in NYC, and then, just 2 days later, they would begin the Europe 2008 tour with Real Big Fish as the headliners. They would tour Western Europe and the Nordic countries from January 14th to March 2nd. Let's just talk about how insane this touring schedule is. Don't worry, we're not done. So far, they've been on 3 separate tours, one of which was 2 separate legs, plus a benefit show, since November. They've been playing consistently for 4 straight months. But if that wasn't enough, they would return to touring 27 days later with their own tour. They would play the 41 days and 41 nights of tour with support from Dan Potast. They would play this tour from March 29th until May 8th. In the middle of this tour, their website would update and would finally become archived by Wayback Machine. I can finally use their website as a source. You know what that means? It's website time, baby! Firstly, get used to this website. We're going to be seeing it for a while. So let's go over what it has. It has a news section, and it has a little archive button, but because this is the early days of the website, there's nothing to see when you press the archive. They have a bio section, which has this huge bio, and it links to Wikipedia. They have an FAQ section, and I'm going to be honest, I looked at this for a long time. I have no idea what this FAQ is. It's Latin, and it's just straight nonsense, so I don't know what's up with that. They have this Moby section, which is under construction. They have info, which simply says that the press resources are coming soon, and there is site credits for the site design, which is from Tokay, and then it was coded by Palebird, which links to palebirddesignstudios.com. And then there's a contact, which allows you to email Streetlight Manifesto at streetlight@riskmail.com. And then their booking agent, Kevin Gunther, which is interesting because that is Kevin Gunther, the trumpet player of Catch-22. So, another link back to the supposed animosity between Catch and Streetlight, which just isn't there. They have a headlines section, which doesn't have anything at the present moment, but I'm sure it will. They have a photos section, which has a bunch of photos of the boys in action. It's got audio, which has their 3 albums on display. No demo, interestingly enough. And then there is a video, which links to the We Will Fall Together music video. They have a tour section, which has all of their tour dates and links to buy tickets. And also, info in the venue, which is nice. They have an e-list, which I assume you can put in your email and join the e-list. They have Team, which takes you to teamstreetlight.com, which has nothing, never had anything, except the word team. They have a shop, which takes you to theriskstore.com, which now is just Pentimento. I believe they're the same thing. They have Radio, which had an embed of We Will Fall Together, but I don't believe it works, unfortunately. And then they have this little section down here for links, which takes you to the Risk Group, Pentimento Music, Help Us Help, Botar, and the Agency Group, which the Agency Group is Kevin Gunther's agency, booking agency. The Risk Group website, still in 2008, is coming in 2006, so that's nice. The Pentimento website has understand to be actually nothing at the current moment, and then in a little bit you can skip ahead, and it is very similar to the Streetlight website, but it's kind of got its own stuff. We'll explore this in a little bit here. It's got Help Us Help, which I'm not quite sure what Help Us Help is. It's a charity thing. I don't know if this is the right Help Us Help. It's really quite confusing. I think it is the same one, but it's not clear. It seems to be a charity thing. And they have Botar, which takes you to the Botar website, which still can't see anything on. So that's great. So let's visit the Risk store in early 2008. We can see that they're selling the Stitch Up's Attitude Adjuster CD, and we also have some Streetlight merch. It's nice merch. It's pretty nice. They have sections for Botar, Dan Podcast, Streetlight Manifesto in the artist section, shirts, hoodies, and girls in the clothing section, music, CDs, and records, arts, prints, and then miscellaneous, buttons, patches, stickers, and posters. The Botar section has the A Call to Arms EP, a patch, a hoodie that I can't see, and a t-shirt that I can't see. The Dan Podcast section has just the Stitch Up's Attitude Adjuster CD. The Streetlight Manifesto section has all of these merch designs, as well as Everything Goes Numb, some hoodies, their demo, a patch, stickers, more patches, just stuff like that. Interesting to see that they don't have some of their tween on sale. That might be because they have to, fans strictly have to order it from Victory Records at this time. I'm not sure. Shirts has just all the shirts that we've seen. Still the Botar shirt that we can't see. Hoodies has the 4 hoodies and the one Botar one we can't see. Girls has nothing. Music doesn't seem to have anything. CDs has A Call to Arms, Everything Goes Numb, the demo, and Attitude Adjuster. Records has nothing. Art has these 3 posters. Prince has the same 3. Miscellaneous has all of these things. Buttons has nothing. Patches has these 3 patches. Stickers has this sticker pack. And posters have these 3 posters. Then we can go to Mail Order, which is under construction at this time. News, which is under construction at this time. Info, under construction as well. Contact, which actually does have a contact for a P.O. box. There's a login, but that just kind of breaks the website. You can search the site, and you can join the e-list. And that is everything that the Risk store has in 2008-ish. It's not perfect. The website is kind of jank around this time, but it's close enough. Jim Conte would take a temporary medical leave from the band after getting an infection that would leave him hospitalized for some time. It would seem for the rest of the tour he would not rejoin the band. Adam Jackson, the sound guy for the band Zox, would cover his section on tenor saxophone briefly. For the last 2 shows, they would play alongside with Dan Potash's band, MU330. On May 3rd, Streetlight Manifesto would play at Bamboozle, and later that day, Thomas would play his very first acoustic performance. This performance was only a few songs, and he kept forgetting the lyrics, clearly a little nervous. This would be the very first acoustic show, and thus a proto-Tokay performance. Here's a couple clips from one of the oldie recordings I can find of this performance.
It's been 40 days, I tried 40 ways. Hey, stop. I fucked up. It's not you, it's me. I swear. When
And it's been 40 days I tried 40 ways. You will never quite leave your sins behind. They'll haunt you till the day you die. You will never really go. You think about how much, but you need to know how the story ends, so you sit around even though you should just go. Tell your friends what you have heard. Show them all the lies unlearned. And when you really go, you will really know you were never meant for Earth. What's it worth if we're gonna break it down a little logic? It's absurd. And every single symptom brings us closer to the two men who will take the credit for all this swift and bending fall, because it's not my fault. Would you be upset? No. Would you be impressed if I told you we were laughing? No, that's not it either. Would you be upset? No. Would you be impressed if I told you? If I told you we were counting every single moment that we waste our time. What? No. You guys fucked it up. That was you. That wasn't me. Streetlight. What's next? So is this as surreal for you as it is for me? Experience for us, never get the chance to show up to the party, never has to dance. The losers, the liars, the bastards, the thieves, the sisters, the pessimists, and those who don't believe in nothing. When you see me playing the same chords over and over again, that means I forgot the lyrics. Because every time I'm on a stage by myself, I forget everything, and my mind is a big fucking blank. I don't lie without declare. I stare into your eyes and look up past me in the air. What's it like? I'm standing in your shoes, to never felt the brunt of somebody's abuse. And I take the bottle, I take it to all my heroes that are fast and last. We've left this bunch of stories that will last. I was on the through we fall, independent we stand, independent we fall. So they set a pox upon the house, upon the family, and everyone you ever knew, and everyone you ever made. Those are the wrong words, asshole. What's next? Everyone you ever knew and everyone you ever made. I bet they think we wish we joined when we could. Don't do what we want, we don't do what we should. Now everybody's laughing, they're thinking there ain't something I don't get. Don't forget, I connect, I heard every word you said like a child who believes he was wrong.
On May 6th at Chicago, Thomas would raffle off his acoustic guitar that he would use portably. The raffle would be used for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America. This is what Thomas had to say about the raffle.
This is my baby. I bought the guitar specifically for the road right around our second tour because it was small and portable and sounded great for its size. It's been through hell and it's been on every Streetlight tour until the last one. It's followed me on vacations, on trips, pretty much everywhere I've been for the last few years. It was left behind on the floor of a van where we were robbed, making it a perfect price for a Help Us Help metaphor since the robbery planted the seeds of Help Us Help. Many of the songs on the record and a few other records were written on this little guy, usually while driving or sitting backstage. I've dropped it a few times here and there, and there are parts that are patched up with duct tape, but as far as physical objects that are intertwined with Streetlight history, this guitar is responsible for bringing forth most of our new music. Although the sentimentalist in me hates to see it go, it's my honor to give it away that helps a meaningful charity, and bring some of the attention to a terrible disease.
It is unclear what this acoustic guitar looked like, but it was apparently signed by the entire band, with the exception of Conte. It was likely just a standard acoustic guitar, if a little small. It would raise $720 for the charity. would be given to a fan named Sean Rangel. That same night, they would raffle a Dan Potest painting, also part of the $720. Streetlight Manifesto would then match and thus double that $720 contribution to contribute $1,440 to charity. On June 29th, Streetlight would come back to dispel rumors, as they say. They would address the rumor that on October 28th, 2008, they would be releasing an album. This comes from the Victory Records summer catalog where they announced this. And Streetlight says that this is very much not true. And they're not even fully sure why Victory said this. They said that they're a little sure, but not that sure. And they'll announce why later on, which I guess we'll talk about soon. Apparently at this time there's also rumors that they would be coming to the UK to maybe play the Leeds/Reading Festival, which again apparently was not true. They also announced that the Japanese tour dates are live and that they hope that they can play more all-ages shows in Australia, I guess due to some laws that wasn't possible. Yeah, it seems like they only had one all-ages show listed for November. Then, on July 1st, Streetlight would announce their very next tour, the 4 out of 7 in 3 before 9 tour, which refers to 4 continents out of 7 in 3 months before 2009. The tour would start on October 8th and would end on the 13th of December. And it really did span 4 continents, that being North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Dan Potest would apparently join the band for every tour date except the ones in North America. On July 8th, Streetlight would return with a pretty decently sized update. First of all, there would be roughly weekly updates on Tuesdays. Supposedly, hi-fi hand grenades would accompany them on leg 1 of the 4 out of 7 in 3 before 9 tour. But they would later drop out for some reason. I haven't read up on it. But they would drop all tours for whatever reason. The Pentimento Music Company website officially would go live in 1 week from then. He also says that he'd give more info about Risk, but he literally doesn't do that. So that's great. Also, Streetlight has a, quote, official, unquote, unofficial MySpace page at this point, which is okay. I'll throw up pictures. The MySpace page isn't a whole lot to look at, and there's really nothing new there that they would post other than stuff they post on their website. So that's all for this update. On the 15th, they just give an update reassuring that the Pentimento Music website will be up on the 15th, and also a little teaser for something coming up soon. The Pentimento Music Company site would be updated in July and would feature a full site full of stuff that works. So let's go around and look at it. Firstly, we have news, which on July 30th, 2008, when I'm looking at this website, only has 2 pieces of news. Firstly, the welcome, which is actually a pretty good post, just sort of explaining the stuff that Pentimento is meant to be. And then there is one from Streetlight about how Streetlight and Dan Potest are handing out on a tour, specifically the 4 out of 7 in 3 before 9 tour. And there's info, which has an FAQ, which has stuff on it. Has site info, which is not loading anything for me. And then we have contact, which has the Pentimento email and a PO box. Headlines, which has nothing. Featured artist and featured release. How nice of them to put themselves as the featured artist. Okay, we need to address the elephant in the room here. This says it's a free MP3 of Streetlight Manifesto's Hell. This is not true. It is actually a free MP3 of Dan Potest's Fan. However, this website gets a little confused, I think, because the Internet Archive is trying to go back and fill in some details it doesn't have with stuff that would be featured later in the site, like this Hell MP3, which obviously wouldn't exist for quite some time because the album that it's on did not exist. I can't find the MP3 of Fan. The link is broken, but there is a free MP3 of Hell. It sounds just the same, but it'll be featured later. There's a YouTube thing, like a video thing, but it doesn't actually play anything, unfortunately. There's an e-list that you can join. There's a shop that takes you to the Risk store. There's Help Us Help, and there is a radio that plays Fan by Dan Potast, Here's to Life by Botar, In the Summer by The Stitch Up, Losing My Shirt by Dan Potast, and It's a Wonderful Life by Botar. Oh, and also Every Inch by The Stitch Up. It's got an artist, which has Dan Potast, Botar, The Stitch Up, and Streetlight. Has a little tour section, which just kills it. So then there's a releases section, which has A Call to Arms, Attitude Adjuster, and Dan Potast's Eat the Planet. It has all upcoming and out now. Upcoming, the website does not like, and out now also seems to do nothing. So that is the whole website as of currently. On the 21st, they would make a update about Team Streetlight, which is something that we looked at when going through the website, and it pretty much says that Team Streetlight is a way of giving out guest passes to Team Streetlight members. Basically, you just sign up, and then they pick 3 Team Streetlight members to get guest list spots, since they don't really give any out other than people who can't get in the show, and also their families, except apparently Mike Soprano's mom, who would go and still buy tickets. Apparently also they settled their robbery for $20,000. I don't know if that means they settled legally or if they settled from their record company for $20,000, but either way, apparently they settled for $20,000 based on their robbery events. Also, apparently The Dark Knight sucks and Toge hates it. But that is about all for this post as well. It was really hard to find, actually. The Wayback Machine was bugging, and I could not find this post for so long. It was so hard to get to, and then I finally got it, and it's basically very much a nothing burger. I don't even know if they carried through with Team Streetlight at all, in any capacity. They may have, they may not have. Who knows with this band. Next week, they would announce that they had posted the We Will Fall Together music video on Vimeo, so that you could view it in HD. And that's all. The next week, because 2008 was a very news-heavy Streetlight season, I suppose, they would announce that they have international pages now, that in certain languages, you can view the page in a different language. They apparently still wanted the languages of Chinese, Croatian, Finnish, Hungarian, Norwegian, Polish, and Swedish, but apparently they would take any language, and the sites have photos, a link to their first music video, and 9 full-length MP3s, 3 from each album. Also, Toke apparently endorses Mozilla Firefox, and not Internet Explorer. So that's interesting. Let's just take a quick look at what this international page looks like. It says, "Hello, greetings from Streetlight Manifesto. We are a band from the United States of America that combine elements of rock, ska, punk, folk, world, and other genres to create a sound we like to consider our very own. We've been around for about 4 years now and have toured extensively in the United States, and we try to get to as many countries as possible. To share our energy and our music, have a look around our site. Check out some of our music, and if you like it, please feel free to share it with your friends and on any online music communities you may participate in. Spread it around. Also, please join our email list for free music, more information, and updates on when we'll be coming to your country. We would love to come to your country to rock out with you. The more support we get from music fans in your country, the more likely we will be able to set up a tour there. So please share our music if you like it. Peace and respect to all. See you at the shows." I know that the page is dead and has absolutely 0 links, but what we do know is that it has the Vimeo link. It has some pictures. I can't see them, but there is 9 pictures. And you can't see it because they're not outlined for some reason, but there is 9 MP3s here. And then it has the languages of Czech, German, Greek, English, Spanish, French, Hebrew, Italian, Japanese, Dutch, Portuguese, Russian, and Ukrainian. The next week, Toke would talk about how Alternative Press, in the September-October 2008 run of their magazine, had an article about the class of '98, a look back at 10 albums that shaped the punk of today. Apparently, Keysby Nights is on that article, though I can't find the article specifically, and he gives a little bit of information about Keysby Nights. Apparently, it took them 7 days to record and mix the entire album in an NYC recording studio. Also, a little bit of a hint towards Smiles from a Cavity, which is interesting because even in 2008, people obviously were bugging him about Buttersworth. On Wednesday of the next week, yes, Wednesday, Toke missed Tuesday because of course he did, he had a new update. and it had 4 points, but only 3 of which are really relevant to us. Tokay would DJ the Sirius Channel 29, which is the punk rock channel, sometime in September. Apparently it was recorded at this point, but it wouldn't air for about a month or so, and he was playing some of his favorite punk rock tunes, commenting on them, and in general sounding uncomfortable and awkward. Giant ego and solo career to follow, hurrah. Actually, I find that really funny because this was after the Bamboozle 2008 show, where he played solo, and this would be like a couple years before Streetlight Lullabies. So they're not wrong. If you have a recording of this, please send it to me. Please send it to me. I've been looking so hard for this. I cannot find it. Please send it to me if you have a recording of this. The second point being they actually did get more languages added to the international sites, so that's exciting. And then the third point being they got a European booking agent, that being Hidden Talent Booking. And they were teasing a mainland Europe tour at this point. Also, I want to point out how he numbered this update, because Tokay is an evil little bastard. First of all, it's the number 1, and then it's B, and then it's 3 in Roman numerals, and then it's 4, the word 4. They would miss the next week's post, but the next week they would post about how they are offering photo passes now for semi-professional or otherwise amateurish photographers to be able to photograph the band. You can get between 1 and 3 photos per show. You have to email Streetlight with your full name, your age, your online portfolio, and your equipment list, and you may hear back from them. If you don't, sucks to be you. But they just wanted to give people the opportunity to be able to get photo passes. This also being the announcement where Hi-Fi hand grenades are off the US tour for some reason, but they would be replacing them, and teasing a big update next week. The next day they would make a small update that the Buffalo show was not canceled, I guess for whatever reason. People thought it was canceled. But actually they would be playing with the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, also in Buffalo. But the support from the Streetlight tour would not be there. It would just be Streetlight and the Bosstones on their ticket. Or maybe somebody else that the Bosstones had, but Streetlight without Streetlight's support. The Fear Nuttin' band would be replacing Hi-Fi hand grenades on the Streetlight tour. And that's all that this update had to say. Finally, here it is. This is the big one. On September 9th, 2008, Streetlight would, for the very first time, officially announce the 99 Songs of Revolution project. Okay, well, not for the first time. If you remember, this was actually mentioned all the way back in the A Call to Arms liner notes. And finally, only 7 years later, are they finally getting around making this thing a real fucking album, parentheses, S, in parentheses. They basically give the rundown for this project being 8 full-length records, 2 from Streetlight, 2 from Botar, and 2 from each of 2 other Streetlight-related groups. It was the record that Victory said would be coming out in October. Apparently it was not even a possibility. The first volume of 99 songs was supposed to be out in early 2009, simultaneously with another one of the 8 CDs, not the Botar one, apparently. Victory would be putting out the CDs and MP3s, and Pentimento would be releasing and distributing the vinyls. They said that they're aware of their reputation to take forever to release records and miss our self-imposed deadlines, so we are not giving anyone any solid dates. Not even our labels. Early 09 release. That's it. How did that one work out for you guys? Working hard on it. The demos are done. They're heading into the studio probably around October. They said specifically that this was a good way to get music to the fans until their next full-length album. And that's about all they have to say about this, but this is the first time since 2001 that the 99 Songs project would be brought back even into the discussion. So that's what's basically gonna be our focus from now until the release of 99 Songs. Streetlight would play the 4 out of 7 and 3 before 9 tour from October 8th to December 14th of 2008. They had reportedly a very good time in Japan and experienced much hospitality, so that's really nice. In November, Alternative Press would release an interview they did with Tokay. This interview was about 45 minutes long, and featured Tokay talking and also acoustically playing a few songs. Of course, 45 minutes is far too much to include in this video, so again, like all interviews that aren't on print, I'm going to summarize it for you guys. But I will also include Tokay playing the songs. Tokay did this interview solo. Everybody adds their own input to the songs. Tokay considers the other musicians to be superior to himself. Most of the members of the band have music degrees. Thomas learned to play guitar and write songs himself. Thomas starts with a vision for the song, but the guys add lots of little details and sections. Before the beginning of their tours, they like to change things in songs in rehearsal, if they change it at all, not usually live. Streetlight's music is objectively better than Thomas's stuff with Catch to him. Thomas's first song that he plays is Somewhere in the Between.
I think I'm just going to go ahead and start with Somewhere in the Between.
Sounds good. You are listening to Thomas Kalnoky from Streetlight Manifesto on the AP show.
All right, here we go. You were gone when we found you. You were practically surrounded, you were trapped. The opposition stalled, the blood ran cold when they saw the look of love in your eye. Maybe the times we had, they weren't that bad, and everything else was part of the plan, and we sang, I don't know where we go, from the Alpha, Omega, the beginning and the end, and we all just idolize the dead. So you were born, and that was a good day, and someday you will die, and that is a shame. Yeah, but somewhere in the between, you'll live the life of which we all dream. Nothing and no one will ever take that away. You had a love, and that love had you, and nothing mattered, you were fine. Some will complain, they'll just spit out what a shame. They know that loving and losing is better than nothing at all. Maybe the times we had, they weren't that bad, and everything else was part of the plan, and we sang, I don't know where we go, from the album, the slogan, the summary of events, and we all just idolize the past. So you were born, and that was a good day, and someday you will die, and that is a shame. Yeah, but somewhere in the between, you live the life of which we all dream. Nothing and no one will ever take that away. Yeah, and someday soon, my friend, this life will come to an end, but we can't just get in line again.
All songs are written acoustically first. He's not very influenced by ska, and he doesn't even really love ska that much. He finds that ska is very limiting and has lots of strict rules. Songwriting is more important than genre. He was introduced to ska by a ska radio station, which him and Achilles listen to a lot. He thinks that there is fractures between genres now that there didn't used to be. The internet has caused every subculture to be an island. They don't like their openers to be other similar bands on their tour. The next song that Thomas plays is 40 Days.
40 days? I'm going to do 40 days.
40 days.
Yeah, it's also off the new record.
Sounds good. Whenever you're ready, good sir.
Sure. It's been 40 days, I tried 40 ways. You will never quite leave your sins behind. They'll haunt you, taunt you till the day you die. You will never really go. You think about it much, but you need to know how the story ends. So you sit around, even though you should just go. Tell your friends what you have heard. Show them all the lies unlearned. And when you really go, you will really know you were never meant for earth. what's it worth? If you couldn't break it down with any logic, it's absurd. And no matter where we go, we are not alone. When the silence turns to cries of why, what a way to begin. We inherit sin, and nobody's gonna quench your thirst when the well runs dry. The well runs dry, and nobody's gonna hold your hand on the day you die. I've tasted 7 sins, so they won't let me in. I knock, knock, knock till my knuckles are bruised and raw. I'm stuck in the middle with my butt in the funnel on the floor. We made our beds, we'll judge ourselves, and only then and there will we disappear to a final resting place. What a waste. So many decent people at the gates. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. And no matter where we go, we are not alone. When the silence turns to cries of why, what a way to begin. We inherit sin, and nobody's gonna quench your thirst when the well runs dry. The well runs dry, and nobody's gonna hold your hand on the day you die.
Thomas doesn't play the electric guitar at home and hates it. Thomas would prefer to quietly stay at home and play for his cats. Streetlight songs are usually dark tonally. Streetlight has lost some fans because of the subject matter of religion and somewhere in the between. Thomas acknowledges he can't finish a fucking album. Thomas hates working for Victory. The other groups mentioned in the plans for 99 songs may have included guest musicians, maybe Dan Potas specifically. That's just speculation though. Thomas loves to cover other music. 99 songs had many groups because he wanted to have different styles to use. 99 songs was supposed to shy away from ska and punk, which, there are 3 punk songs on Volume 1, so. Thomas likes the secrecy of being a private band. He rathers keeping some mystery. Sorry, Thomas. Streetlight has a shelf life, and it will die one day. Often touring and recording is really exhausting, and he hates it occasionally. Being genuine is the most important thing. The last song he plays is Dear Sergio.
I'm gonna do an old one. I'm gonna do something off of Catch-22's Caseby Nights. This is a song I wrote about a bully, more or less. I mean, back then I didn't really have the songwriting chops to focus on one thing throughout the whole song, but this is a song that I kind of wrote with the name of a kid from town in mind. So it's called Dear Sergio. I should probably tune, huh? In that case, I'm about as real as it gets. All right, here we go again. And again. Run, 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 all you do is run, but you never run away from yourself. I know it's hard, but you've been there before, you know you're gonna be there again. I don't care what the stars may say, they always feed the bullshit to me. It's kinda sad how you lost what you had, you know you're gonna be there. I'm also notorious for forgetting my lyrics. I'm also notorious for forgetting my lyrics. I'm just gonna improvise if I don't remember. do is run, but you'll never run away from yourself. I know it's hard, but you've been there before. You know you're gonna be there again. I don't care what the stars may say, they always feed their bullshit to me. It's kinda sad how you lost what you had, you're never gonna have it again. And so I said, hey, Sergio, it's getting kinda hard in here. And so I said, hey, Sergio, you gotta get us out of here. So I said, hey, na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Every other day you don't care what they say, they always leave you 2 steps behind. Try to smile, but it'll last for a while, they always send you back to the start. Eeny, meeny, money, more than shit on anyone you know, and then they leave you there all alone. You wish you stopped, but they never give up, and you know deep inside that you're stuck. And so I said, hey, Sergio, it's getting kinda hard in here. And I said, hey, Sergio, you gotta get us out of here. So I said, hey, na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
He says that Sergio was a bully. Confusingly, he's also been called an old friend. Thomas is notorious for forgetting his lyrics. After finishing the 4 out of 7 in 3 Before 9 tour, 2 weeks later, they would begin touring once again with Real Big Fish. Seemingly, they got bored. This would be the Fame, Fortune, and Fornication tour, which had Real Big Fish and Streetlight Manifesto headlining. This would be a mainland United States tour. This went from the 1st of January to the 14th of February. On February 2nd, Streetlight would make an update announcing a few things for the year of 2009. Firstly, they're playing Warped Tour. Every day at Warped Tour, actually. A New Orleans show was canceled, apparently. They're playing Europe from March 12th to April 5th, including some new territory. The Fame, Fortune, and Fornication tour would be the last headlining Streetlight Manifesto shows of 2009. And they have more info on 99 songs next week, apparently. On the 11th of February, Streetlight would make another post. This being that they had a TV debut on Fox, Fearless TV Studios, and that they would be up sometime in 2009. Also a 10% off sale at the Risk Store, and 99 Songs is almost done, and they're wrapping up recording and mixing in the next few weeks. And soon they will have a track list out and published. They say that 99 Songs will be out before Warped Tour. On the 17th of February, they announced that they're heading home. They thanked everybody for a good tour. They told Europe that they're almost on their way. Apparently, Victory Records striked their YouTube video, I believe, of We Will Fall Together for some reason, but they will be posting a new link, apparently, soon. There was a guy wearing a Streetlight Manifesto shirt on a cooking show on the Travel Channel. I'm pretty sure it's this episode of this show, but I can't make it work through my totally legal methods, so whatever. And next week, they're announcing a tour to a few countries that they've never been to, including a continent they've never been to. So that's intriguing. From March 12th, 2009 to April 26th, 2009, Streetlight Manifesto would play the Europe 2009 tour. This tour would cover a lot of different ground, actually, including the Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, Spain, and Greece. On the 3rd of April, Streetlight would actually make a post about this tour. Apparently, Matt couldn't make it because of personal matters, so they had to have a temp sub in for him. And just some of the songs they absolutely just could not play because they were too difficult. Which, I mean, is understandable. Matt Stewart has some crazy-ass horn parts. Streetlight had some college shows that they were playing around this time in the US right after this tour, seemingly just to do a little something before Warped Tour. And 99 Songs is finished, and they're now just waiting. On April 30th, Streetlight would announce that either on Saturday or Sunday night at 1:30 a.m. on Fox 5 in NYC, Fearless Music would be airing one of the songs they recorded. Streetlight also asked people to vote for them if they wanted to hear more songs that they recorded on next week's show. They also announced that they would be playing the Reading in Leeds Festival on August 28th and August 30th, respectively. So, a quick spoiler, because this is actually kind of relevant to the plot of, well, not really plot, this is literally just what happened. Anyways, so Streetlight ended up winning all these polls, and they actually got 4 of their songs on Fearless Music. I don't know which came first, because I think they were published out of order on YouTube anyways. So, I'm just going to play a clip from each of these 4 songs in no particular order. Most of the announcements from like the next month on are just them announcing that they keep winning the polls. So I'm just not going to go through that and just play all the clips now.
Was trying Subconsciously I knew it was a when I woke I knew that it was time to pray, to make amends before the end, before my judgment day. I looked around, I stood alone, and I knew what I could say. I said it's all my fault. Maybe the times we had to worry about and everything else is part of the fun that we sang. This is the alpha, omega, beginning and the end, and we all just idolize the dead. And some will complain, they're just bitter, what a shame. They know that loving and losing is better than nothing at all. Maybe the times we had they weren't that bad and everything else is part of the fun that we sang. I don't know where we go. This is the anthem, the slogan, the summary of events, and we all just idolize our past. When someday soon, my friends, this ride will come to an end. But we can just get in line again. Do you weep? You're on the way to heaven, but the road was steep. Who was there to break your fall? We're guilty, one and all. Well, I don't know much, but I do know this. With a golden heart comes a rebel fist. I can't help agreeing with those that would not quit. Oh.
On May 11th, Streetlight would post an update titled, "Let's See Those Douchebags Take It Down Now," which was just a re-upload of We Will Fall Together on the website HD Fest, which was the same video in, HD resolution, I assume. They also make a hint that they're prepping video number 2. So, the very next day, on May 12th, Streetlight would announce that they're going to be touring in South America, Brazil, and another country or two in the same continent as Brazil that they can't announce just yet. This tour would be announced for September, and they are very excited. From June 26th, 2009 until August 23rd, 2009, Streetlight would play at Warped Tour 2009. Warped Tour, if you're not familiar, is a festival tour with like a million fucking bands that used to go around the country, the United States, and play at many, many major cities and bring all these huge bands just about everywhere. Warped Tour still exists, but now it's just like festivals. They don't tour, so I don't even know why it's called Warped Tour. It should be called Warped Festival. But that's a side tangent for another time. On July 10th, 2009, while playing Warped Tour, Thomas would break his arm in a bicycle accident. He was attempting to videotape a baby deer. He would post the video with this description, but would quickly delete it afterwards. Here's the video first. Now for the following description.
So I was riding my bike around some botanical garden type thing when a couple miles from the Toronto Warp Show, hauling ass down a hill when I came upon a baby deer on the asphalt path. It immediately started running away from me. Naturally, I immediately started pedaling double time to see if I could touch it. Apparently I couldn't. The deer ran a bit and then shot to the right into some brush. Right around this point, I held up my cell phone and hit record to see if I could at least get a little of the guy in the video. As soon as he turned, my first instinct was to follow him, so I slammed on my brakes. Unfortunately, it was the only hand I had on my bike, my left. Left handlebar equals front wheel brake. My front wheel locked up instantly and I flew. Literally, I flew. My bike followed suit. We both rolled around playfully in the asphalt a bit, then just enough to cut me up peacefully on each of my gangly joints and to come up a nice spot on my chin and left elbow. I laid there, tangled on my bike for about 3 or 4 minutes, just spitting and grunting a bit, catching my breath. When I finally scraped myself off the ground, I looked across a small river I'd been riding next to see the little deer standing on the opposite bank staring at me, ears perked up. When she saw that I was okay, or no longer a threat, she skipped away. I dragged myself to the river, cleaned off my wounds, and then went to look for my phone, which when I found it 15 minutes later in the shrubs was still recording a lovely blade of grass. I used it to find a nearby hospital where I was told I'd fractured my radial head, the ball in your elbow. Awesome. So yeah, that's why I'm in a sling. This video is not very exciting, but the grunts I let out as soon as I begin my fall is pretty amusing. And you can see the baby deer in the upper left-hand corner of the first 2 or 3 frames. Lesson learned, don't chase deer.
Because of this injury, Tokay would just do vocals and would have Sean P. Rogan from Big D and the Kids Table join him on stage to play guitar. Thomas would recover and return to guitar duties on either July 22nd or the 23rd. The video evidence of these dates are not extensive. On August 3rd, Streetlight would come with a pretty big announcement post. First of all, the South American tour had to be canceled because of swine flu, so they're rescheduling for some time in 2010. They have a new tour, the last tour of the decade, which is a, pretty standard tour, except they'd be doing 2 back-to-back shows in NYC. On September 20th, at Highland Ballroom, they'd be playing the entirety of Everything Goes Numb. The next day, at BB King's, they'd be playing the entirety of Somewhere in the Between, from start to finish. Apparently, these would be their last shows for quite some time. Apparently, they'd also be pulling out some back catalog for this tour. Don't ask them to play Mrs. Buttersworth. Seriously. And they have something else exciting to share, but they can't do it quite just yet, which is the most Streetlight thing ever. On August 11th, Streetlight would post their second ever music video, this time for Would You Be Impressed? Victory Records would not allow funding for a second music video, so Streetlight had to do it all themselves. But it's pretty cool. Also, this one is way more popular than the other one.
Would you be upset if I told you we were dying? And every cure they gave us was a lie. Oh, they mean it when they say we're dead and doomed. And every single symptom brings us closer to the tomb. And who will take the credit for our swift and bending fall? Because it's not my fault. Would you be impressed if I said that the dead would help us counting? Every single moment that we waste our time, all the time we're spending vaccinating this You scream, not me, take anybody else, because it's not my fault.
Last night where everyone was trying. Subconsciously I knew it was a lie. And when I woke I knew that it was time to pray, to make amends before the end, before my judgment day. I looked around, I stood alone, I knew what I had to say. I said it's all my fault.
On August 28th and August 30th, Streetlight Manifesto would play the Reading and Leeds festivals in the UK. On September 14th, Streetlight would announce that this tour, the last tour of the decade, would be their last dance for quite some time. Basically, they explain that they've been touring pretty much 5 years straight, and they're taking a little bit of a break. They also announced that they have a very special last show in New Jersey, which they don't mean last show ever, they mean last show of the tour. They probably could have made that a little bit clearer, but apparently they're going to take a nice long break from touring and have nothing planned until at least the summer of 2010, which I think is very funny that they're making a very big deal out of this, because now they disappear from December until April every year and only start touring again in like June. So like they're gone half the year now. And I just think it's very funny that being gone half the year back in 2009 was a very, very big deal. They would begin the last tour of the decade on September 17th, 2009, and it would go until October 4th, 2009. Those two back-to-back album shows, by the way, were September 20th in Highline Ballroom, New York City, and September 21st, B.B. King Blues Club and Grill in New York City. On September 25th, Streetlight would announce what the super special New Jersey show would entail. At Starland Ballroom, they would be playing both Everything Goes Numb and Somewhere in the Between, both back to back. However, in the middle of this, they'd be taking an intermission, and while they drink water or whatever they do in the back, they would have their sound guy be playing clips of music from 99 Songs of Revolution Volume 1. And after that, they'd be entering hibernation. Streetlight would play actually very long clips of at least 4 songs. I know that they played Hell, Linoleum, Such Great Heights, and Me and Julio. And for each of these songs, at least they were over 2 minutes long. The clips have the whole song in them, or at least most of them do. Such Great Heights only has 2/3 of it, but, you know. After this tour, Mike Soprano would leave the band and would instead be replaced by Nadav Nirenberg. Streetlight would make a post on November 17th, 2009, addressing 99 Songs. They express a lot of the frustrations with Victory, and they say that they don't know when the album will be out, but hopefully soon. 99 Songs Volume 1 is going to be released on vinyl via the Pentimento Music Company, apparently long before it comes out on CD or digitally. Apparently, the release date for the vinyl would be posted sometime soon, and they'd be posting clips from the record in the next few days, along with the artwork. They're still making plans for 2010, and they're heading into the studio soon, as in a particular electricity-deficient collective. So, it's another thing with Botar apparently going into the studio and, record something. It's bullshit. It's always bullshit. The Restore has new items, and Jim Conti is offering saxophone lessons in Montgomery County, Maryland / the Northwest DC area. He gives individual instruction for all levels on alto, tenor, and baritone. Lessons can include classical and or jazz and improvisational instruction. Obviously, they're very fond of their Jimmy, so no stalkers or creeps, please. And apparently they'll have sound clips soon. In early December, they posted 6 sound clips from the album.
I tried my best to leave this all for you. I'm just an ornament, something for your pride. Always running, never caring, that's the life you live. minutes of your time were all you have to give. And I think it's gonna be alright. Yeah, the worst is over now. The morning sun is shining like a red floor. That's right, I've got a floor. So what? So what? So what? Yeah, I've got pockets full of Kleenex and linen holes where everything important to me just seems to fall right down my leg and onto the floor. My closest friend, linoleum, supports my head, gives me something to believe. That's me on the beachside, combing the sand, metal meter in my hand, sporting a pocket full of change. That's me on the street with a violin under my chin, playing with a grin, singing gibberish. To a record shop, we asked for Mojo Nixon. They said he don't work here. We said if you don't got Mojo Nixon, then your store could use some fixing. We got into a car, away we started rolling. I said how much you pay for this, and nothing, man, it's stolen. Oh, girl, you look so wild, girl. Let's have a child. We'll name her.
In early February, Streetlight would be booked for a couple of shows in April, apparently, in New York and Rhode Island. Victory Records would announce that March 16th was the release date for 99 songs. A speculative track listing was posted, and it's pretty much correct, except the album does not have Country House by Blur on it. On February 15th, the art and track list were both released, and March 16th was confirmed as the release date for vinyl and CD from Streetlight. Streetlight was confirmed to play Warped Tour 2010 in late February. Streetlight would then post a sample of their cover of Hell by Squirrel Nut Zippers on their YouTube in early March, and then a few days later, a free download of the MP3 Hell would also be available to download from the Pentimento Music Company. The same day, they would also post that they have a third show in Hoboken, New Jersey, also in April. 2 days later, they would update to something very important. This being, Streetlight Manifesto asks its fans to boycott Victory Records. I'll read out the update for you, because this is a very crucial milestone in the relationship between Streetlight Manifesto and Victory Records. Hello there, just a quick note from us. If you want to support Streetlight Manifesto by buying a CD, shirt, hoodie, poster, etc., please do not buy anything from Victory Records or their website. Use our online store or come out to a show and support the band by buying merch there. We cannot condone or agree with the actions or ethics of a record label, nor do we want to support them financially through revenue made under the guise of helping Streetlight. Hey douchebag lawyers, this is not libel or slander. We're just letting our fans know how to best support the band if they should choose to do so by buying stuff. That is all. The next day, they would post a MP3 download of Me and Julio down by the schoolyard with another thing about how they don't like Victory Records. Apparently, this was their first single, which they had no idea about, and Victory just chose to put out, and they only found out because they saw it on iTunes, so they're very happy about that. Streetlight now has a Facebook page. And here, just a few days before 99 Songs of Revolution Volume 1 comes out, we will be stopping this video. I know. You probably want to hear about that, and you probably don't want to wait like another 3 months for me to make another video. Unfortunately, for you, I gotta pace this shit out. So, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Thank you for everybody who's helped me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who subscribed and who likes the video and comments and really pushes my video. I'm just amazed to see how much you guys like these videos. It's amazing to me. I'm really just making them for myself, but it's great to know that there are people who actually appreciate what I'm doing. hopefully I can get this out soon. It's almost my birthday in 3 days from now, from when I'm recording this on October 10th. I'm very excited to put out this video. I've been working not as hard as I should have been on it, to be honest with you. I've been really busy, and, sometimes life takes precedence over Streetlight Manifesto, which is a little heretical to say, but what are you going to do? Alright, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.